Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again. I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in theatrical and streaming horror movies. Each week, the Gruesome Magazine Grue-Crew will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing Night Swim from Blumhouse, Atomic Monster, and Universal Pictures. With me this week are my co-hosts, starting off with award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr.
We all float down here.
Y'all float down here. That's actually pretty good. I like that. Also joining us is award-winning screenwriter Brian W. Swinth.
Thanks for having me and talking about this latest Blumhouse offering.
It is, and it's I guess it's the first one that's the officially of the
merger,
Blumhouse, right? And the merger between Blumhouse and Atomic Monster. Yeah.
Does
this
it? Blumhouse offering?
We'll get to that part. We'll get to that.
Wonderful way to start that off.
All right, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to give you our first impressions. Those first impressions will be spoiler-free, as if you care. And then we'll get into a discussion and get into spoilers, as small as they are in this film, but there are smaller.
There are some.
There's spoilers, but are there? And then we'll wrap things up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. This is going to be a blast, I'm sure. Let's take a look at the card and get things going. But before we do, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like and subscribe button, share with a friend, especially subscribe. Each and every click will help us find more horror fans. And just like you, let's take a look at the card. Boink. Night Swim. 2024, ladies and gentlemen, from Blumhouse and Universal, available in theaters beginning on January 5th, 2024. Synopsis: a woman swimming in her pool at night is terrorized by an evil spirit. It's a little bit bigger than that. It's not incorrect, but it's not entirely correct. Directed by Bruce McGuire, written by Bruce McGuire, and I guess it's Bryce, and Rod Blackhurst. The cast includes Wyatt Russell, Kerry, Condon, Amélie, Hoeferle. Sorry, I'm going to move on. Gavin Warren, Jodi Long, Eddie Martinez, Elijah J. Roberts, Rahnuma, Panthaky, and Ben Sinclair. All right, well, I got an 80% on that one. Maybe
you drowned a little bit.
Maybe
in the there.
Oh my gosh! All right, let's start off with Brian. What was your first impression?
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of water-related puns in these reviews, but my first impression, I actually saw it at a free screening, an early screening last week, and to quote Janine Melnitz in Ghostbusters 2, well, just don't go in there. That was my thought throughout the entire film. There were many scenes. I could actually see, I could almost picture the screenplay beats as they were happening.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I like that.
As if they were just writing out in front of me. I leaned over to my friend. I was like, research scene. It was just hitting all the beats as it was going. It's not a terrible film. It's just it's a short idea of, sort of based on a short and stretched to feature length, and you can sort of tell that it's being stretched out, and they're trying to do something different with it, and the cast is game. They're trying to do what they can with it, but you can just tell that they're pulling from a lot of different popular films and films in the genre. That's fine with its if it has the influence, but you can really tell that it's padding the running time and it's stretching moments out where characters could just simply get out of the pool. That was my initial impression. If they just communicated a little bit more about what they're seeing and the shenanigans that are going on, I think the movie would, of course, be much shorter than the actual short. But overall, it's like I said, I could tell where things were written, where they were planted as the story was going along, and it didn't feel organic to the story. It didn't feel organic as a horror film. But if it does well, it's it's low budget enough, so it'll probably do well. But I don't think we need a franchise out of it. But
no,
we'll probably get one against our will.
So are you saying it's predictable?
I wouldn't say it's not necessarily predictable. It's just a jump scare machine, and I would, we can get into it in terms of like the mechanics of the actual, the threat of the film and how it could have maybe worked a little deeper and better on a dramatic level. But it's also a small budget film. It's a small film that they're obviously trying to make quick, and they did. So maybe I don't know. Maybe Mike Flanagan can come and do the sequel and make it a little better.
Mm-hmm. He's done that before. Christopher G. Mohr, what was your first impression of Night Swim?
Stay away, Flanagan. I call this Poltergeist.
Very good.
Yeah,
very good. You're 2 for 2.
Yeah, which actually, if towards the end, it kind of goes very poltergeisty at one point. But anyway, I think one of the biggest problem is you have this one space and you can only do so much. I think if this were like a Nightmare on Elm Street or some other horror film like Stephen King's It, you'd have one kill scene in a pool. But having it all take place, you can only do so much in that arena. I think the acting's great in it. But yeah, I think it becomes very repetitive, and I think, I think the only thing that I found interesting was when we finally get the idea behind it. That's when it became very interesting to me, and I think that's the spoilery part, Doc. I think that's the part I found more interesting. But we only got like a snippet of it, and then it doesn't really make sense beyond that. But yeah, it is. And then because if I end up finding issues with it by the end, I'm like, well, what happens? What happens after that? How do you go on after that without people making questions about stuff without spoiling anything? But anyway, yeah, I mean, and again, I think the horror aspect of it is them just throwing a jump scares every once in a while, and I did jump like twice, unhappily. And I think the look of the supernatural elements they seem to be much more a mixture of CGI and kind of like there's even one part with the CGI mist but underwater version of it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's got a few interesting ideas in it. It's I think one reviewer called it Amityville Horror in a Pool, which has that as well. But again, we look at all these other things that they do a much better job of it to where you could see a story beyond that. And I really hope we don't return to we don't take another dip into this movie pool. But yeah, I found it to be very meh. For me, I didn't really. Again, I think it just became very repetitive. It's like, how many reasons can we get these characters into the pool? and regardless of the aspects that kind of give them a reason, or I think there's one point where it makes kind of sense why they have to sort of go back or be around it, which is the normal thing you find in most haunted house films, But overall, it's to be honest, and I told Doc before, I was like, I'm not really looking forward to seeing this, and maybe it'll surprise me. And it is one of those things to where the concept works probably a whole lot better as a short, because then your mind can open up more possibilities as to what thing is. But then when you stretch it out, then you realize, okay, there are a lot of limitations to this, and then it becomes pardon the pun, watered down by the time you stretch it out to full length. And,
I like that.
And I'll stop with my
three for three. Yeah. All right. Yeah. You know me. I love my Blumhouse films, but this one is it's okay. So it's last year we had Megan right out of the gate. That was great. It made my top 10. This one is not anywhere near it. But it's not as bad as some January horror films have been in the past decade or so. It's a perfectly fine movie. It's actually better suited for streaming than theatrical, I think.
Yeah.
The cast is fantastic. The entire family, from Wyatt Russell to the kids, they're all great, and I like the dynamic. I like the setup. I like the house and the pool and what, but it doesn't really deliver on any of the potential. It's rife with potential. There's all kinds of crazy things that you can imagine could happen, and it falls back on tropes and jump scares and doesn't really deliver on a lot of it. There's some bad CGI to hamper things. It really what I'm going to say what makes it entertaining is the cast. The cast practically saved this movie. I really liked the actress as well, whose name I am forgetting. What is it? Kerry Condon. Kerry Condon. I really liked her as well, and the kids were great too. And there's a baseball element that I think is, like you were saying, padding, and that kind of felt padding, but it's a backstory. So the characters aren't, they have backstories. Each character has something going on. So there's a lot of thought in that. It just, to me, the horror element just needed to ripen a little bit more. It needed some more help. It needed some more juice. Some more direction, even. As far as speaking of direction, the director, I think, did an admirable job with the material. I think the problem is his screenwriting is the problem, not his direction. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does next. I think he has the chops to make a good horror film. Just got to get away from the tropes. Get away from those tropes because they're weighing you down. So I'll stop here and we'll move into our spoiler section and discussing the film. I'll start off with the supernatural elements of it. It's a ghost story, in case you didn't figure it out from the trailers. It's more than one ghost. There's a lot of ghosts, and I think they need to lean into that more. For me, if the ghost had a little bit more the ability to step outside of the pool and become more of an element of the home as well, like wet footprints and sogginess and whatnot, and it could have been a little bit more creepy and scary, because they are confined, and as long as you stay away from the pool, it's not a problem. Right? So a pool is there for a reason. People want, and they make a reason for at least one character to want to keep going into the pool, and that makes sense, and it makes it believable that people be in the pool. And there's a pool party, and there's the teenage daughter brings her friends over. It all makes sense, but at some point, the solution is so simple. Leave dumbass there and get the hell out of the house. What do you guys think? Am I wrong?
Maybe they needed a dog instead of a cat to just come in and like an inciting scene where the dog shakes itself off in the house and the water gets everywhere. And maybe
oh my God, that's a great idea.
As we're talking about it, I'm trying to fix the script as I'm thinking about it. Just because the bridge between not having to go into the water, but
having the water come into the house,
and they've all been in the pool, so maybe it should, if it affected each one of them in a different way, it was just sort of like they didn't really do that.
They didn't capitalize on it.
Yeah, like it could affect them all in different ways, like psychologically and I don't know. I don't mean.
Well, we know the water can come out of the pool and still have the effect because the old lady that they go do has a little tub of the water going through like a fountain, and
there are specters that linger around the pool, so it's you see them when you're in the water, and
Well, that to be honest, and also also like if the logic is you have to sacrifice. We're in Spoilerville, so if you sacrifice something to get your wish or whatever, why didn't the cat die? Wouldn't that have been the sacrifice for that?
The cat didn't have to die. I don't know why.
No, it didn't have to. But I had my problem is, and you probably see this too, Brian, as a screenwriter and filmmaker, is like my idea of what's happening was much bigger. I almost thought like whenever they're in the pool that there was either like an alternate reality or maybe it was like a time thing, because when he found that the baseball, and then later on he has the baseball, I thought that was the same baseball.
That would have been,
and I was like, yeah, because I thought maybe there's like a time thing. So then when he's seeing himself, when they see other people, maybe that's from a different time. But then it just being some kind of spooky mirage thing. Right. But yeah, there's so many limitations to how this is. Now, granted, I love the whole wishing well aspect of it. I mean, it's definitely the monkey's paw type thing, and also them throwing coins into the thing that kind of plays into it as well. Maybe that kind of opened up the whole portal to that. But at the same time, it was a very simple thing that I mean, if there'd been some kind of god or if they added much more of a mythology around it. But yeah, it seemed like this is what it is.
I wonder if there was, if they made it a little more appealing to even the audience. Like I said, like, what would you do? Instead of like being more seductive to Ray, Wyatt's character, it just seemed like it just wanted to kill him. It just wanted, it was just trying to kill people. It wasn't trying to get to their deepest, darkest, whatever, and get them, to play against each other. It wasn't trying anything. It was just like jump scare. It was just like, I saw it, so I'm just gonna grab the kid, and it was just like not really getting deeper.
Conflict isn't really that strong or engaging.
If you hear a disembodied voice coming from your pool, just get out of it. Like,
get out of the pool. I mean, that's a trope of all haunted house movies, right? But I will say that the scenes when they have the little girl on the other side of the drain did work, and I was like, I hope they open up, because there's like on that side of the pool where he sees her, there's like a kind of a bench area, there's a wooden floor over top of it. If they could have dug that up and saw that there's like another part of the pool there, part of there could have been some interesting, where the bodies lie. It needed more.
Yeah, they definitely set up. That's why I'm thinking we don't need more stories from this world, but they definitely set up like prequel stories with everything that was going on, all the different souls that are trapped in there. I was just like, we don't need. I know what they were doing. I know what they're setting it up for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's I made the poltergeist reference, but that ending kind of felt like that. It's like even tying a rope type thing around yourself, going into the go into the light, Carol Ann type moment. And
she did use it for oxygen, though. That was cool.
Well, there was that. But yeah, there was nothing more than that. And then I was like, then it didn't. I don't know. And then I kept thinking like, well, there's all these opportunities for these ghosts to grab people, but they like, I'm just gonna pull you a little bit, and then I'm gonna have all these ghosts surrounding you, and they're not doing it. It's like, I don't know. There's like so many opportunities where this film could have ended like 5 minutes in. Somebody just got dragged
out of the pool. Just got out of the pool.
And the family's reaction to spoiler to the dad sort of, I guess, sacrificing himself so that he could save the family was pretty lukewarm. Like it was a non-reaction, and they just sort of, okay, well, I guess we'll just stay here. Our dad's in another dimension.
How do you explain that your dad just
disappeared? He just
disappeared. To me, that'd be like
I wasn't
Dateline
sure.
or
I thought
something.
maybe the movie would go dark and just kill the whole family or something different, but it just didn't happen. And by the end, by the last shot, I was like, I was waiting for someone in the audience to just fart. It would would have made it more entertaining because it was just like nothing
Really?
happened. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. I was waiting for something, and it just like left it like that. I was like, "Huh, that's weird." And I think the rest of the audience felt that.
And then you talk about like, you know, when it comes to screenwriting beats and stuff, it was just the obvious like, you know, we've sacrificed our life for you. Why can't you help? You know, and then like,
Right.
literally
Theme
sacrifice
exactly
myself for you. And it's like, wow.
I mean, if this is what gets movies made, hell, I'll just break out my Save the Cat now. Just right.
Well, and it kind of makes me worry that you have two of the most influential people in horror, Blumhouse and James Wan's company, Atomic Monster, and this is what they make together. You think it would be like the most amazing thing ever, but evidently they're just like, well, I guess as long as you don't have to put a huge amount of money into it, they're going to make their money back. But yeah, I think they didn't put a lot of effort, I think, into really making this memorable because it's bogged down in the concept because it's a very singular concept that's really hard to sort of stretch unless you just add some really other, you know, unless it's like Insidious and stuff into where you just have all these other things involving, like you mentioned, Doc, like if this is The Haunting of Pool House or whatever, where you just had all these ghosts and stuff, you know, if it'd been like 13 ghosts, but with a pool, it might've been more interesting if they could venture outside of that, but being so trapped, you can only do so much. Okay. We need to do something with the, you know, a Marco Polo bit. We need to do the thing with, they put their hand in the, you know, either the drain or the side drain. Those are just like, that's all you can do in a pool or being underneath the
tarp,
you know, the tarp or you just basically take all the specific aspects that are pretty obvious. And
they tried to do the Jaws scene in the pool with when they were doing it didn't work. Well, one of the big things is that the creatures, the entity, aren't really that memorable. They're not really that well done, and especially that globby one, whatever that was. But if they had made at least one of them, like you said, like the reason why character be more stand out and more something that you could, you know, fear. I think it, you know, would have made it improve. I don't want to sit here and just make this is how you can improve this. I just lacked that, right? It lacked that what the real evil was. It just was too, you know, opaque. It didn't really come together.
Lean into. I knew they were going to go shining, at like Amityville and all that. I thought they were going to lean into that, especially in the baseball scene. I thought maybe the baseball was going to go through like someone's head or something.
That would have been nice.
That's why, you know, like a little R-rated moment or something, because there was so much tension built around as you're going to hit the ball. I was like, oh, it's going to go through the pitcher or something and just, you know, kill him in front of everybody. Nope, didn't happen. So.
I was waiting for it to like clock him in the head and not necessarily explode his head, but give him a good clock. And then oh no.
Just to show, yeah.
I mean, I get they were going for different symbolism there, and it in the context of the story they were building, it made sense. Wasn't necessarily a good horror film moment, but and baseball character moment.
Yeah, and then, you know, I mean, I think because also when you're dealing with water, that becomes very problematic and being able to shoot in that in general. So I think that's why they probably went with more CGI stuff. But I think that's to the detriment of the film. I think if we'd had more of practical effects creatures or monsters or whatever, it would have been so much more scary. And I think they were definitely at times they were going for like the Jaws thing of not showing, but then it just became boring. It's like I might as well just stare at my bathtub full of water and like, ooh, something weird's going to happen here. There was really no I think the only time that I actually found it interesting is when she went and visited the Asian lady.
Yeah,
that became more interesting because first of all, we know a little bit about, even though it's very simplistic about what this thing is. Although I will say, as a germaphobe, some natural spring fills your pool. No, I'm not doing that. Well, there's got to be all some.
Well, you still put the chemicals in it to make it all.
Yeah, but still, you got water coming from some unknown hole in the ground. I'm sorry, no, thank you. That's asking for me to have my brain to be eaten away by some.
Oh yeah. Oh my God! But they did have that Ben Sinclair guy as the pool tech. He explained that it has natural elements and
thank you.
But natural heating and all that stuff.
No, thank you. That right there. That's screaming. No, this is evil.
I did like the cinematography in the pool, like the pool footage. That was interesting. But I mean, that's as far as they can stretch it, I guess.
What do you? Last thing we need to talk about before we get into our thing. What did you think of the Ray Waller character, Wyatt Russell's character, as he started to come under full influence of the pool and started chasing his daughter around the house?
Yeah, it felt like The Shining and Amityville. It was just over the top, and he was suddenly jumping into one-liners and stuff, and I was like, didn't do anything for her. I mean, he was pretty brutal with her, so I thought this was going to be a film where they just kill off the whole family, and then you just see the stillness of the pool or whatever. Again, rewriting the script as I'm.
But she had to get the bat. She got the bat. I mean, it's still the theme, right? The theme they set up.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
But then at the same time, I think the supernatural force gave him strength powers, but then he was able to just disappear,
right?
Almost like disappear and reappear. And I was like, I don't. Yeah, now we have a whole new
played a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah, abilities here. I don't know if they explained that he has the ability to just disappear and reappear all of a sudden. And then I just okay, this is ridiculous. Now you're just not even caring about logistics of what you set up here.
Yeah,
the stupid broken glass thing was probably the most tense bit in the movie. I was like, no, I don't like it when glass goes in people's feet.
Yeah,
but it went into her hand instead.
I thought it went straight into her wrist. I really thought they were going to go.
Oh, it went into her palm though, didn't it? Right.
It went into her palm, yeah. But with the way it looked, I was like, oh, they're going to kill her.
She landed all over it though. I thought she was going to have it on her head or something.
Yeah. I really thought it would go further for some reason.
It was very. Although this
they had that one piece of glass that was sitting up, and they focused in on it. So that was it Chekhov's glass bit?
Right.
All right, let's go ahead and get into this. Let's find out what our score is. 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Brian W. Swinth, you're up first.
I will give this a 2.5. It's competently made, but not great on the screenplay side. And there's a lot of loose threads in there. Maybe they're threads that are thrown in there for sequel purposes or prequel purposes. But, when you're dealing with the story itself, I'll say the performances were fine. I thought the wife, did a really good job. And Wyatt Russell, it was adequate. It was fine. And the motivations they gave to the characters, overall, I think the story just felt like it was stretched out. It was a small, flimsy sort of premise. The short itself isn't really even that much either. It's sort of like a proof of concept. If you check out the short, it's on YouTube. I guess they just needed an idea to become a feature, and that was the one they chose. And this is the idea behind it is fine, but it's different. But I ultimately just was left feeling kind of meh, as you say. Favorite scene. This is a tough one. Favorite scene. I guess I'll go with the baseball sequence. Just because there was some tension built there, and they were trying to, giving you some sympathy for the kid, and I wasn't sure, where it was going. But it was fine. It was a nice moment ultimately. But I thought it would be a lot gorier.
There's not much gore in this movie at all, is it?
Yeah, no. But I thought that was a nice moment of him just sort of showing his Superman powers. I thought it was going to lead to something a little more interesting, just not The Shining or Amityville Horror retread. But it was what it was.
It was what it was. All right, Yeah. Christopher, what is your score 1 to 5 and your favorite scene? Free raspberries, ladies and gentlemen.
I would probably give it a 2.5.
Very good. Very good.
I think it's in that middle ground. I think if it didn't have the idea behind the supernatural aspect of it, if that wasn't as, that's the most interesting thing to me. The film would have got a much lower rating because it's very free. I'd say very pedestrian. I think it's the concept is so simple that it just becomes repetitive. And I think somebody had asked me after I saw it, like, "Hey, would you recommend me getting a babysitter and going to see it?" I was like, "No, wait for streaming."
Yeah. It's a pretty good recommendation.
But as for favorite scene, I will say, like, when she goes to the lady and finds out exactly
like that.
what happened, because I think that was the one moment where it's like, okay, this is interesting because you're not, at least that's an interesting idea behind it, and I think if the rest of the film was as interesting as that, then it'd be a better film. But yeah, it's just like, okay, this is what it is. We're not really going to explain anything further or create any kind of bigger mythology around it. Like, no, you just make a wish and then you just got to kill someone for it. Yeah.
And of course, the scene ends with her smiling. I was like, oh, I know what movie they saw.
Yeah. It almost like we saw the movie Smile, so now we're just going to smile evilly.
Oh man! Oh, they did feel that. Damn it!
But yeah, that's probably my favorite scene.
There you go. You cut to the quick. 2.5 is a good score. It's a stream. It's not going to be in the theater long enough for you to see it. If you haven't seen it already. For me, my favorite scene, I'm going to say it's when the daughter goes back in the house and the glasses has already been broken and the dad's, gone wackadoodle noodle. And that's when the movie actually has some action to it and it's also ironically not involving the pool directly. Right. But he the only thing is that I didn't necessarily like the look of Wyatt Russell, the way they showed him possessed 100%. I think they could have done something a little more. It was a little, but but regardless, from the moment she fell onto the glass, or from the moment that she started going in the house, I knew the glass was there. I knew she was going to fall on the glass. It was obvious, right? But it made sense. The floor is wet. She's coming in. She slips on. It all was set up perfectly fine. But yeah, it didn't bother me like it did you with him, popping in and out. It looked like he had, supernatural powers. I kind of went with it, but it didn't make sense now that you say it.
No, because it didn't really say that he has the kind of powers to disappear and reappear. I mean, he has strength, and so I'll give him that much, but just to sort of, he's gone. Oh, he's here. It's like,
because the whole thing was, it's more of a fountain of youthy kind of thing instead of a wish, because you get people got better as opposed to getting whatever they wanted, right? And at least those
are only 2 wishes, though. How do we know other people's wishes weren't?
Well, that's true. That's true.
I want to have money, or or I want to have a supermodel girlfriend, or whatever. I want to watch that.
There you go.
It's more of an expanded Amazing Stories movie.
There you go.
Than it is anything else.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our review for Night Swim. Let us know what you think of it down below. I'm sure you probably disliked it far more than we did. And also please hit the subscribe button. I'm going to remind you to do that again. It'll help us find more horror fans. We appreciate it greatly. Brian, Christopher, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. I was just disappointed it didn't have a theme song. The title theme. Come on.
Or just have like a rap song on the end. Like,
exactly.
We're going in the water.
Oh man, that was a shot for the Oscars.
Yeah, don't go in the water on a whim because you're gonna take a night swim. Night swim.
Yep. Let's get out of here. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Word.